going on, guys? Welcome to the Flyin podcast. I'm here today with Sam. Excited to talk about some ups and downs of a week that we had for FC Cincinnati, but ultimately still in first place. Sam, how are we feeling tonight?
Yeah, feeling good. You know, 1-1 on the weekend. It's been a long time since we've said that, especially at home, right? So that's unfortunate, but we are the first team to clinch a playoff spot, and that feels really, really good. And so, the closer we get to the end of the season, the closer we can taste that supporter shield, and there's nothing better, right?
I think you're exactly right. And normally, like anytime you make the playoffs, you're like really pumped about it and you're way more elated. But I mean, this was coming. The way that this year has been going, this is a formality. We're not surprised by this at all or at all shocked by it. But I mean, clinching in the end of August is just so impressive compared to the first three seasons we've had in the MLS, and even last year, clinching pretty late on. But I'm pretty pumped to be a fan right now of the team overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to kind of transition, into the first game, right? So against Atlanta, we had talked about last week that this game was going to be tough. We had never won in Atlanta before.
Yeah.
Not only have we never won in Atlanta, but it was also on turf. So we don't have a great record on turf. So
No.
everything was kind of against us going into this game.
Yeah, for sure. And, you kind of see the rocky week beforehand. You come off a good result on the weekend. So you're feeling pretty good. But like you said, Sam, I mean, on turf, it's a crapshoot. I feel like the ball bounces different. The calls are different. The guys go into tackles different, as we kind of saw. So we'll kind of walk through here to start. We see the starting lineup come out. Sam was referencing on Wednesday night. Um, and we had a pretty solid lineup. I think one thing that I'm going to take credit for this because I called it was I said Halsey was going to play right back. So starting out in goal, obviously Roman Celentano. We had Halsey on the right, Hagelin, Murphy, Miazga, and Barrial. So pretty solid back line there. No surprises really. I think one of the big surprises for me was that Kubo was in there playing, which maybe we had a little bit of surprise with Moreno on the bench to start in the first half. Kubo comes in next to Wobodo, Lucho up there in the middle, and then kind of a little bit of a surprise with Santos starting up there with Vasquez. So, Sam, I wanted to get your thoughts on initially seeing the lineup.
Yeah, in the middle there, I think the one that I mean, you mentioned the two that kind of jump off the page, which is Santos and Kubo. Um, I think since we called out Moreno, to be honest with you, like he's played really well in the middle
Mm-hmm.
there. Kind of hand in hand with Obi, I'd say maybe a little bit better than Obi, which is pretty crazy because Obi's the force that he is in the midfield, right? But as far as contributing to kind of the defense, but not only the attack, I think Moreno's been a key there. So that was kind of an interesting move. Not sure if it was maybe rest him a little bit and then bring him in the second. So I'm not sure what the take on was that for Pat, but the Santos up top was um, maybe just another mix of let's see if Santos and Vasquez can kind of do this thing up top. Because
I feel like Pat's hand was kind of forced. One of the things
yeah,
that we see come out, is that Bupenza hadn't been training the day before.
yeah,
And was it a question of did he have a knock? Was there stuff going on back home in his home country? We weren't really sure. And it was kind of confirmed that he didn't even travel with the team, at least leading up into that match. And you see that report, you get kind of nervous, especially with the fact we brought this new DP striker in and then we lose him for this game. Now, to your point, do you protect the guys on a turf environment like this? Maybe he picks up a knock, and I think it ends up coming out that hey, it wasn't worth risking him to have him travel. And but it sounds like the guy wanted to be there, so I'm at least going to give him the benefit on that.
yeah.
His heart's there, and it seems like it's in the right spot. He's kind of been going through a rough stretch, but Santos comes in and we can kind of get into the game a little bit. So first I would say 5-10 minutes of the game before, Atlanta scores. I just feel like it was kind of coming for them. I'm not going to lie. I think like we needed a time to adjust to the turf and to really understand the bounces and the speed of play. The biggest thing for me was the speed of play.
Yeah.
Almada is breaking through on Obi and Moreno. I mean, or not Moreno, on Kubo. We don't have our footing. We don't really understand the process where Atlanta is used to this home environment. So it kind of builds up into where I think honestly they looked at Halsey and they saw a weak spot. He had not really started on the right wing. He started on the left the game before, but that was their kind of plan, was to attack that side. So leading up into that, Sam, if you want to break through, a little bit of what you saw in the 10th minute when Atlanta scores, or I'm happy to, either one.
No, yeah. So to your point, I think they did attack Halsey specifically, on that play. Obviously, it works out for him in the end. But I think for the most part, this was just FC Cincinnati not being able to get a head or a foot or anything on the ball to clear it.
Yeah.
And obviously there's not really much you can do when there's a rocket coming at you from 5 yards, from the goal. So, it was just a misfortunate bounce, right? That
Yeah.
just happened to be, right place, right time. To be fair, watching the replay and everything, Kubo and Murphy both go near post. And it's very much one of those moments that I hope they go back, watch film, and they're like, oh, like both of us, went near
Sure.
post to kind of get in front of that, and we let the guy in behind us.
Yeah.
So kind of just left Mascara there to get his first MLS goal. But that's kind of how I looked at it there. I thought Halsey played okay. Like, I didn't think he played bad. He played good. He brought
Yeah.
energy. But to your point, I think him having the lack of starts is something that they kind of tried to go after.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. And to your point on the actual physical shot, like it's such a fast shot on a deflection like that.
Oh my
You
gosh,
do what
yeah.
you can to throw anything you can on it.
Top of the
What
goal too.
For sure. For
Yeah.
those who kind of didn't see it, in reference here, the ball is swung on the right side over to the left part of the box. The Atlanta player brings it down pretty well, goes right at Halsey. Halsey kind of checks him a little bit and tries to hold him there. The guy's able to get a cross shot, whichever one you want to
Yeah.
say. It deflects off, and a guy is sitting, I think right around the 18 or the top of the 18, and he's able to just put it right in right away. So that's what we kind of mean by they're exploiting that side. They were looking for crosses on the back post. If a guy's usually used to playing on the left, now he's on the right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit harder to adjust to that and the guys that are next to him. But there's nothing Roman could have done to save that. I mean, it was a rocket. It was point
Yeah.
blank. But you could definitely tell that, Miazga's always upset when they get scored on, but especially in this one, he was like fuming like right away. He's like, "What are we supposed to do about that?" Um, so that from the 10th minute on kind of set the tone of like, we better pick this up, or it's going to be like St. Louis game. It's going to be like DC game, because it kind of felt like that to start the game. Sam, we're behind in possession. Like I said, they are playing at a faster speed on turf than we are. So that makes me a little bit nervous. And we get down to Thiago Almada free kick. So did you want to touch on something before I kind of walk through what happened there?
Well, so to be fair, that the rest of the first half after that goal, like FC had chances. Halsey
Mm-hmm.
had a chance to kind of cut back, didn't
Yeah.
really catch it very well, goes over.
I think the ball bounces up on him on that play.
Yeah. And then so Barreal also has a chance
Mm-hmm.
and kind of catches it under kind of the same thing on that turf. So we had our chances there at the probably the end of the first half. But yeah, I mean, it had kind of that momentum of like, oh geez, like let's
Yeah.
just get to half. Let's get to half.
Well, that's what I think the balance kind of was that way or going that way, but luckily we had the post on our side. So
Yeah,
Almada
no
has a
kidding.
free kick from like 30 yards out. It hits off the top left corner of the crossbar. So we kind of get lucky there. He's got a heck of a free kick. So I was a little bit nervous about that. But to Sam's point, I think you're exactly right. We did have chances. It wasn't like we got completely destroyed and we tried to fight back. So that was good to see. At one point in the first half, I think Santos actually plays a decent ball across, for Vasquez. And I don't know if he could have dove for it to try to get on the ball, but he kind of just lets it ride. I don't know if that's I mean, the dude played in Atlanta. He understands the bounces, but hey, I'm not going to really throw my body. I'm afraid of getting hurt in this scenario or what it was. I felt like he could have done it a little bit better at trying to finish that. That's a little bit of a sneak peek for what I have later on in the episode about Vasquez, but at least in that first half, like you said, some decent chances. Santos comes up limp on one part of the play in the end of the first half. So, kind of leading into the early second half, you see some changes. So, Pat implements, taking Halsey off, like you had mentioned, played a pretty decent half, but we needed a little bit more spark going forward. I personally thought that we could have kept Halsey in. I just don't know where you plug him in. Where do you keep him there? Arias has been such a spark plug off the bench, or when he started, he's been playing so well. So that was kind of interesting to see. And then the second sub that they had made was Santos coming off and moving Kubo up top. And I believe they brought Moreno in center mid. So more of a traditional midfield there. So we started to see a little bit more intensity pick up early on in the second half of that Atlanta game.
Yeah, that start of the second half, man, both teams were going back and forth. Both teams had
Yeah.
a lot of chances to begin that second half, which was really, really scary for an FC fan because it could have easily been 2-0. But
Right.
to kind of go into what happened for us, getting that
Can I
goal.
can I stop you real quick
Yeah, go ahead.
just before we get into that, because I wanted to just take a moment to say how ridiculous Obi's yellow card was.
Oh, yeah.
Like
That's a good point.
that
Yeah.
was the one thing that I just wanted to bring up was like I I get pretty animated when it comes to like fouls and like, stuff that shouldn't be called. And I see this guy, hustling his butt off every single game and winning tackles. And how many times have we seen him be called for fouls that aren't fouls, yellow cards that aren't yellows? I mean, so what happens right before half, actually, to kind of backtrack, there's this 50-50 ball in the midfield. The guy slips into Obi, and Obi is running at full speed. So what is he supposed to do? The guy trips, Obi gets the ball, and because the guy goes into him and falls down, they call the foul on Obi. And you're like, seriously? That's not even a foul, number one. It's not a yellow card. I've never seen him more animated about a foul. I mean, he was upset, and Miazga, of all people, had to come over and separate him. So that tells you, how heated it was. But Miazga's probably telling him, look, dude, I know, man, everyone's against you. And credit to Obi, he stayed out there another 45 minutes and didn't get another yellow card. So that was interesting to see, and I just wanted to make a side note about that. But Sam, tell me what happens, later on in the second half for the good guys.
My goodness. Like, so the goals that this team puts together on a every match day, right? It's insane.
Bangers.
The 1-2s that they put together, the middle of our field. I mean, maybe you could give Vasquez a little bit more credit, as well as Barrial on the wing,
Right.
but like that midfield is just they're on the same page, and it's so fun to watch when they're on the same page and everybody's clicking, because this goal is exactly what that is. Acosta dips it off to Moreno. Moreno takes it off out of the air, heads it down to Acosta, hits it one time. Like what a
Left-footed,
finish with
left-footed.
the left foot too. Yeah, I was gonna say with the left foot, just what a volley and what a strike. Like nothing you can do about that if you're Guzan.
That to me goes back to their DC days. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they played together back then, and that's the chemistry that you see. Understanding in tight spaces where the guy's going to be, where does he want it to be? Obviously, Lucho, we want on his right foot, but he heads it down perfectly for just a beautiful, like you said, upper 90 strike. So, I mean, that kind of takes the wind out of Atlanta's sails at that point. I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
happens in the 75th minute. So, I was watching on my phone. We were on our way to a sand volleyball game, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're not going to score. Like if we don't score in the next 10 minutes, I'm getting nervous. So
Yeah.
for that to happen, like I was so pumped to see that. And honestly, I felt like then on, and there's a quote from Miazga about it. how they said, why not push? Why not go for this? We have the momentum. Let's go after it. And they could kind of sense the blood in the water there. So 5 minutes later, it happens.
Well, before that, I want to touch on Barreal to Vasquez, right? So
Yeah, good call.
my goodness, like he puts it on a platter. He puts it on a platter for Vasquez. And I mean, to Vasquez's point, diving headers are tough,
Right.
but I think he just didn't account for how much spin's going to be on the ball when
Right.
Barreal whips it in, right? And I think it just got the best of him and
That's
it
a
just
tough ball
spins
to
off his
take.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, that could kind of point on the fact that we were building. We were
Yeah.
creating those chances and like they could sense something was, different after we tied it up.
Well, yeah, and
So,
then I'm literally a minute later, like after that,
yeah.
right? So Barrial to Vasquez,
I think the
kind of
ball's
make
whipped out wide, right?
yeah,
Um how many times this year, man? How many times have we seen this where goes down to the end line or takes on one guy, makes a move, whips it in,
easy.
creates.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable and picking out people. That ball across there, it's just putting the ball in dangerous positions. But I feel like overall, I'm stoked about it, and we're up 2-1 at that point with 10 minutes left. So that was cool to see. From that point on, we had brought in Malik Pinto at the end and had taken Lucho out. So another thing I wanted to point on is now there's a couple games in a row here, or maybe not continuously, but a few. Actually, it might be continuously. Third game in a row where we take Lucho out with a lead. Miami
Yeah, I
game,
think so.
New York game,
Hmm.
we're up 2-0, and then this game 2-1.
Yeah.
So Lucho, in the previous one was a little bit heated about being taken out because of the way the last game had ended, when Miami came back. So he's starting to, I think, gain more confidence in Pat and the guys that he's putting in to close games out. But as your captain, I mean, I love that he's, just like, look, man, I want to be in there. I want to be fighting with these guys. So that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Always love to see the a heart on the sleeve from
Yep.
Lucho.
So moving on kind of from this Atlanta game, as Sam had mentioned, yeah, go ahead.
One thing before we move on
Let's hear it.
to the Saturday game, I did want to touch. I was going to touch on it at the beginning when we started recapping, but how cool is this stat? First time that FC Cincinnati won a road game on turf since March 24th of 2019.
Has it really been like 3.5 years?
Yeah, we beat the
Wow,
Revs at New England on turf in 2019. That was the
dude.
last time we won a road game on turf.
That's such a long time. I feel like, was anyone on the roster? Alvis Powell, Nick Hagelin?
Probably, yeah, probably.
I mean, was that about it? Like, that's
Yeah,
incredible. I
yeah.
mean, hopefully this flips the script for the turf games.
Well, hopefully we don't have to deal with turf, now
True.
that
True.
things are changing in the league. So
Yeah.
cool stat.
Yeah, that is interesting. And we had talked about it for a while, so I'm glad that we finally got a win in that scenario. So, as Sam had mentioned earlier on in the podcast, we secured a playoff spot. Obviously, doesn't secure what spot we are in the playoffs or seeding wise, but to be able to say that you're already going to the postseason is pretty cool. They kind of ride, that high. Hopefully, is what you would want into the Orlando game. So Saturday's game comes upon us. We kind of roll out a very similar lineup in a way, except for I think Arias is out wide. Mascara is back on the bench in that game. And then you get, I believe Junior comes back in as well. So a little bit more traditional. We still don't have Bupenza up there. We still don't have Mascara as a full starting lineup, as what I would see our full starting lineup. But we just kind of came out, I think, in the first couple of minutes and showed some flash. And I think that leads up to where, we get a solid goal opportunity. So what I'm referring to is Lucho in the middle plays a pretty nice ball through for Santos. Santos goes one-on-one with the keeper and finishes it. And Sam, I hate it in the past few years that you can't just celebrate a goal without like having to like look at the side ref, like, is their flag up? Like, were they onside? Did they Did somebody kick somebody off of the ball that we didn't see? Like, was there a streaker on the field that stops this goal? Like, I don't know. There's just ridiculous things like that that go through
Yeah.
your head every single time we score. We can't just celebrate. But they end up calling this one offside, kind of going back and reviewing it. It's pretty dang close, man. It is pretty close on if it is, but if it's a goal, it changes the whole rest of the game.
Well, yeah, because it's a 6 minute goal, like
Yeah.
that's a goal right out of the gate. And especially from a guy like Santos, who probably needed that goal for at least confidence purposes, right? And kind of getting his feet back under him and
Right.
getting going. But yeah, I mean, gosh, you tried to see every angle that it could have possibly been there. And it was so tight. Even the commentators, obviously, first look, they're like, oh yeah, like offside, no problem. And then, they look a little closer and it's like, oh man, like
Pretty
I
close.
don't know, pretty close. So unfortunately, just not a call that goes our way. Surprising, right? Because
Right.
VAR loves us.
Right.
But yeah, I think after that chance, it was just it kind of was the opposite to where, last game we score a goal, we go up and it's like, or we tie, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
takes us into it. Whereas this one, it gets called back and it's kind of deflating, right?
Right.
And so
Kind of turn the energy the other way.
exactly in our defense in Celentano, we're having to put their bodies on the line the
Right.
entire, first half there. It seemed like FC was just letting Orlando into their half like way too easily.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Orlando had been coming in kind of riding a high.
Yeah.
They had won, I think, several games in a row, had a
Mhm.
pretty good, goal differential as well. So, to kind of see them do that on our home field was nerve wracking in that scenario, especially after a response of like, you just created this goal, like it kind of would show a team normally like, hey, you can do this, you can create these opportunities, but we just didn't continue that, unfortunately. So leading into the 33rd minute, kind of interesting scenario happens, and I'm gonna touch on it later on in the podcast. But there's a quick substitution that happens kind of earlier on in the game, and I'm gonna just kind of keep it as that. So keep that in the back of your head for later on. That leads up to this other player coming in, Romario Enrique. In the 44th minute, that guy takes it all the way down to the end line, and goes kind of pretty much one-on-one with Miazga. Miazga, I don't know if he's seeing the ball out at the end there, but just I don't know if he gave up on it, just rode the guy down. But this guy ends up getting across, to a wide open, Torres
Kundo.
for
Yeah.
Orlando, yeah, which is their big goal scorer. But I mean, it's not a great goal by him. It was just kind of put on a platter. But if I remember correctly, I think was it Murphy and Haglund are just kind of caught watching, thinking the ball is going to go out of bounds. So kind of deflated the first half for me. And I don't know what your thoughts on that was.
Yeah, so their goal, obviously, we're scrambling for possession there in the middle.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I think the play before that kind of set that up for motion. Like we were
Right.
all discombobulated kind of.
Right.
And I think that comes off of Lucho. Just that stupid foul. Like that's such a pointless foul in the middle of the field. Now, we lose him for a game. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but it's just it doesn't need to happen. And then I think that
It was
kind of,
kind
like
of
I
a
said,
ridiculous
scrambled us a
foul in
little
the
bit.
moment. I don't know, like on
Yes.
TV, how it looked like from your thoughts, but at least being in the stadium and seeing it, and they showed it at least on the replay too. Like, I mean, you're right. It's a stupid foul, but like, is it really truly like a
Well,
foul
yeah. Well, once again, like I don't care how soft it is. Like,
or a
why are you putting
yellow?
your foot out there though? Like,
Yeah, true.
I mean, I see both sides, but you know, I think to that point, we were scrambling for possession, and then I think there was I can't remember who else was in the middle, but it may have been like Moreno or somebody, but
Moreno was the guy in the middle that
yeah, who got like fouled, right? So the
fouled.
FC players kind
Yeah,
of stopped because they thought,
there
he
was a
got
foul, I
fouled.
thought.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that kind of
Threw
I
them
think
off.
Miazga did a great job of tracking back, like you said, but yeah, I think Haglund and Murphy thought the ball was gonna go out and it just caught him by surprise. And it's in my opinion as well. I thought if you go back and look at it, I thought Celentano was a little bit like far out, in my opinion, for where the ball was and where
Interesting.
it was going to end up. I thought he
Hmm.
came out a little too far.
Right.
Once again, not really, much you can do, but
Right.
maybe he has time to get back a little bit quicker. But that's just kind of how I saw it from that angle.
That, I mean, you kind of hit it on the nail with that, but my initial reaction in seeing it too was exactly what you had brought up. Is I thought it was a foul on Mourinho, which can kind of stop your momentum, and in a split second like that, teams will pounce on you.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I would say Orlando kind of got into the dark arts a little bit in terms of like, fouls and stuff like that. So, I mean, that kind of threw us off. And again, I'll touch on that a little bit later, but you can't play to teams like that. No matter what's happening, you got to keep your focus. So,
Yeah.
going into, the second half, we immediately get a sub of Mascara comes in for Murphy. Love to see him back in the back line, and honestly made a huge difference even to start the half.
Yeah.
At one point, Orlando has a ball through. Mascara comes in defense of I think it was Haglin that the guy's one on one with
Yeah.
him or
On his side.
Miazga, and all of a sudden you see Mascara just come back and just saves the day. So we've been missing that in so many ways. And in the second half, I mean, we shut him out. They had some decent chances, but I think he is a big key to us making a far run. And you kind of saw that um, in the past few games and,
Yeah.
even in the first half in this one. So I wanted to
Well,
just
then,
shout him out.
yeah, and then we get another sub in Bupenza, right? Who comes
Yep.
in. He's back with the team.
Right.
Um, and Vasquez has a great ball to him. He's got a breakaway. This lion of a finisher. This guy can't finish, like he can't finish one on one.
What was
He
his right
can't.
foot?
Yeah, and well, every time he seems to be one on one, he gets like tripped up on himself. The ball seems to fall underneath his feet every single time, and it's almost like his eyes are bigger, than the ball. You know what I mean? Like it
Oh,
just
yeah.
that's what
His
it
eyes
feels
get
like,
big
and he
and
gets got yeah,
yeah,
gets got caught up in it, and
right.
it seems to happen every time. Which we're waiting for him to just easily just put it back into the back of the net, no problem, like done. But it hasn't really come too often. I guess
Yeah.
since his first goal, right?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, that first one, he's one on one with him, but even on that one, he's on the right side of the box and he takes it to his left to finish it around the guy. But to your point, I mean, like you're one on one with the keeper. Literally, the keeper's at a disadvantage. You could go anywhere around him. You could dribble it even around, or you could chip it
Yeah,
over. I think if he has a half decent right foot, that's a goal. And it's 1-1 at that point.
yeah.
So that's right. I mean, it is frustrating. And again, it's not like we didn't create some chances. I wouldn't say we had the most chances in this game, but even in the second half, like we are kind of playing against a team that's like falling all over the field and disrupting rhythm
I
and
that
playing
is
against a low
yeah.
block. Like I think that's kind of our kryptonite in some ways is we feed off of having space behind to play people in. When a team stacks 9, 10 people behind the ball, you're playing in tight spaces. It's tougher for us to break them down, and we kind of lack creativity there.
Well, yeah, they're
So
they're at the end of the game. Like if you kind of want to explain it, things start to get a little chippy, right?
yeah,
They're in the middle. There's a foul on,
right,
I believe, Arias, right? And then Angulo's in there pushing around. And then we see a red card for Orlando.
yeah. No, you're exactly right. Is that situation happens, and you can kind of feel the energy be brought up a little bit. It
Yeah,
was a little bit, too late in my opinion. I guess if you want to say like when you get a red card, like I want a solid 20 minutes to try to break
yeah.
the team down.
They did give
You
us
can't.
what, 5 extra on top of that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was like in the 90th plus 5. We get another 5 after that, but
Yeah.
even with a man down, like they played such a low block. I mean, credit to their defense, they played pretty well, but we just didn't finish our chances.
No,
And
Angulo had a chance. Mascara had a chance. Lucho had a possible volley of a
yeah,
chance that would have been nuts.
his attempted volley just that deflated me so much. So I
Yeah,
mean, I thought he was going to put that in. You see him do that
another
so
left
many
foot banger.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
but
yeah, go ahead.
well, so capping this game off. This is the first home loss of the MLS season, right? which stings a little bit. But this is the first time that FC had been shut out at home since March 5th, 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
DC United 1-0 loss. Like we're getting some insane stats here. And it's been a long time since things have happened for FC in particular stat lines.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. The fact that you at least have one goal in all those games, and the loss at home against Stings. It's our first loss in how many months at home in the
Yeah.
MLS regular season. Um, for me, I wanted to just briefly touch on the fact that, like, again, we have a sellout crowd. That's
Yeah. 13th,
12,
right?
12 sellouts out of 14.
Out of 14.
And you talk Leagues Cup, there's a sellout for Chivas, I believe, as well. There's a sellout for the Open Cup game. I mean, the fans are showing up. Again, we're supporting this team. We top, I think, probably top 4 or 5 in sellouts, in
Oh,
the entire
easily.
league.
Yeah.
So credit to our fans for bringing it and keeping the energy.
Shout out to Lucho as well. Fifth player in club history to reach 100 games, right?
Yeah,
So
good
earlier
shout.
this season, we shouted out Vasquez, Barrial, and Kubo. Hagelin was already in there from last season. So shout out to Lucho for making that list as well.
Yeah, and was it 100 total appearances or for FC? I think it was just for FC.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I said club history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that's impressive for not even 3 seasons, and he's played that many games. I mean that's a credit to him, and how he says, like, in Argentina, that they want to be on the field at all times.
staying
So,
healthy. Yeah,
yep. So I'm gonna give you our trivia question of the week here, and then we'll take a break. Sam, you
yeah.
ready? So with his goal going back to the Atlanta game in the 80th minute, Brandon Vasquez had scored that game winner, like we touched on, to go 2-1. How many career game-winning goals does he have? So this could be international, it could be club,
Oh, international
it
too.
could be
Ooh,
any cup competition, but how many games has he won?
that only that changes my answer by one. I was gonna go four, but since you said international, I remembered the game winner. I'm gonna go 5 goals, 5 game-winning goals he's had.
All right, so Sam locked in 5. Stay tuned to the end of the episode, and we'll see if he's right. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with you guys.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools, working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
Welcome back, everyone. Here again with Sam, chatting about an up and down week that FC Cincinnati had. Gonna touch a little bit on the second part of this episode on our cards of the week, jersey swap, but real quickly, Sam, this Orlando game on Saturday, I had the opportunity to sit in one of the suites. It was pretty cool to at least kind of give a feedback or my review of the suite, let's say. So, awesome food. I'm gonna give A+ on food. We had some jerk chicken that was a little bit spicy, but pretty good. Had some solid desserts, some nice some nice drinks up that way as well. So overall experience great. The best and underrated part of the whole atmosphere from that view was the seats, man. The seats you kind of sit up on, but they're like gaming chairs. I mean, just nice cushions and just a solid way to watch a game. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to watch another one from up there, but we'll see.
I'm glad you were comfy. That sounds nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I just had to get my quick little review of that for my one game. I'm gonna say I've been able to do that, but it's cool to watch games from different places in the stadium.
Absolutely.
So that was pretty cool. But Sam, I wanted to ask you, let's start with our cards of the week
Ooh.
this time. So let's switch it up. What was your card of the week?
Yeah, so I have an interesting card of the week here. My card of the week is the Argentina national team. Um, I mean, someone has to be calling this man Acosta, right? Like somebody has to be calling him, especially
USA's gonna swoop him up.
well, especially after this whole season against Messi, etc. Like, come on, like there's a little bit of a level of disrespect, to be honest with you. Like, so I noted three midfielders that don't deserve a nod over Lucho. First one being Guido Rodriguez. He plays for Real Betis, 29 years old. He's got 4 matches so far, and his only stats are 3 yellow cards. We got Facundo Buonanotte. He plays for Brighton. 18 years old, promising player, to be honest with you. But he didn't even make the squad for the U20 World Cup.
Oh, come on.
Just saying. And then third, you got Bruno Zappelli, which he plays for some team in the Serie A, I think, 21 years old. Plays for the U23 team or something. Like I don't understand it. But
can I add a
that's my card
fourth?
of the week.
I'm gonna add a fourth to that.
Oh, add a fourth. Go ahead.
FC Dallas's Alan Velasco had also been added to the
He
Argentina
was a late ad. Yes, he was.
roster as well. But to your point, you have the MVP of the MLS that you could use, potentially for a few more years. You have a 29-year-old guy that's coming into your camp, like you mentioned. So here's another one that's a little bit in his 20s, but still, come on.
Like, how fun would that be to watch Messi and Lucho on the same field, on the same team?
Pretty incredible.
Pretty insane.
If it's even one call up. Now, selfishly, would I want to see him more on the U.S. than Argentina? Yes. But from Lucho's standpoint, you want to make Lucho happy.
Yes.
And Lucho's got a tattoo on his neck of like the Capitol building of Argentina. So I think he's true Argentinian, but for an opportunity to play international soccer or football, for him to take this chance and kind of go through the process, it'll be interesting to see. But that's a good card, man. I have to feel you on that one. That's pretty true.
Yeah. What about you?
My card of the week was gonna be the Orlando Diving.
Oh, so, you didn't foreshadow that at all?
Not at all, man. I mean, I know they are close to water, so they do get some practice, but they were jumping around the field and they were flopping like dead fish. It was ridiculous. I mean, so kind of going back to earlier on in the podcast, 33rd minute, Duncan McGuire goes down for an injury. You ready for this one? Duncan McGuire goes down for injury. Fine. He goes off. So, Ramiro Enrique has to come on the field, right? Well, this Ramiro Enrique is standing on the sideline and Orlando is playing with 10 men, right? So what does the Orlando keeper do, Sam?
Waste some time.
He sits down and says, "Oh, I have a cramp. Oh, my leg is hurt." So what does the referee have to do? Stop the freaking play for them to go over and give treatment to the goalkeeper who has a cramp after he hasn't been moving for the whole half. So what does Orlando get to do? They get to sub on a player. So now it's 11 on 11 again. Dark arts right there.
Well, not to mention what, we had talked about. It got chippy at the end of the game. Yeah. A couple flops there at the end of the game as well.
Yeah. And then they had another guy who supposedly gets hit and just flops on the ground later on in the game. That's a yellow card for simulation. I mean, like, come on. That's ridiculous. And we got caught up too much into that and it threw off our rhythm, like for sure, especially in the first half. Like you have a guy go out in the 33rd minute. You have a keeper go down. You have other guys that are just falling every time we touched their player, they fell to the ground every single time. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it's funny to me that they had a cramping problem when they play in probably more humid of an environment than we do.
Yeah.
So don't give me that. I don't believe that for 1 second. Also, Pedro Galese, great keeper, time wasted every time he took a peek, every time he took a goal kick, every single time.
Yeah.
And finally got a yellow card for it at the very end. But I mean, if it was our team, would I have wanted them to do the same? Questionably, but not the diving part, not the falling down on the ground every single minute of the game. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it's hard to watch games like that.
Yeah, I think to your point, it ruins the game, ruins the momentum for both sides, because then you have to wait, even if it isn't a foul or if it isn't called,
Right.
right? It's still another guy that's on the ground who's rolling around, and you're like, all right, well, now the ref has to stop,
Right.
what he's doing and pretend like he cares about this guy who's playing on the ground. Like,
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. And I mean, like, we have some notorious guys on our team, for
I
sure
mean, it's
that
soccer. Yeah, that's
embellish a
soccer.
little bit.
Yeah.
Namely Mascara, namely Lucho, but
Yeah.
um, it happens, but you don't want to see games decided by that. You don't want to see the rhythms thrown off by that. I mean, I had people that were sitting by us that were like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, kind of moving on and segueing here, and I'd kind of mention him, but let's see what Sam said. What was your jersey swap of the week?
Yeah, I thought I'd take a page out of your book, and go with Lucho on this one, for my jersey
Whoa.
swap, right? So, with FC Cincinnati like set to kind of run away with the Supporters Shield, they would be nowhere without this guy. Leading the league, or I guess tied with Hani Mukhtar, I think.
They
Um,
were.
they
Mukhtar got
were
one more.
okay.
So
So
he's
they
only one
were
back.
tied at the point before this weekend. But Mukhtar's got 25. He's got 24 goal contributions on the season. I thoroughly enjoyed the way he went up against Almada, and kind of a tough place to play in Atlanta. And he just did what he did without batting an eye. He kind of showed him like, hey, young guy, like, yeah, you might be the up and coming Argentina, but I'm the MVP.
That's a good shout. I mean, all the talk is about him and he's getting the Argentina call up and everything, but Lucha's like, take a look at what I'm doing over here.
Yeah, check me out.
Check me out. So a lot of Argentinians in the league. Definitely happy with the ones that we have.
Yes, sir. Jersey swap for you.
My jersey swap, little kind of homage from last week. I kind of touched on him a little bit, and he was an honorable shout. But Santiago Arias was my jersey swap. I had originally had Roman, and I still want to give him credit. Shout out for him for getting an extension. But Arias, man, led the team in interceptions against Orlando, was tied for tackles, played a full 90 minutes, played a half like we had talked about in Atlanta, came in and gave us really good energy off the bench. But what I thought was kind of the coolest moment of the week for me for him was got a Columbia call up. And his last Columbia call up was in October of 2020. Guess who that game was against, Sam?
Messi.
No, it was against Junior Moreno in Venezuela.
Oh,
So
we know that guy.
Yeah. Guess who they're playing this week?
Oh my God.
Venezuela.
Crazy.
So yeah, Arias has got 54 appearances for the Colombia national team. Potentially will have 55, possibly 56 before he comes back for us. But awesome to see him round back into form and to get the credit, honestly, that he deserves for how he's been playing from the Colombia national team, because he was a staple as their right back. I'm hoping that we can see Mascara, get into the starting lineup or even on, their squad for the Colombia national team. But he's coming back from injury. Yeah. I think that's why he didn't get called up on this one.
Yeah. I definitely think Arias is this second half of the season. He's been a bright spot that we've had. Him and Halsey, kind of that right side has felt very secure over there. Obviously, you got Barrial locking down the left, but right. At the beginning of the season, it was kind of like who do we have on the right side? We had 4 or 5 different guys that were rotating on a week-to-week basis, and now I think Arias has kind of solidified that. Like, hey, I'm back. I'm in my form, and I'm going to show you what I was doing over here in Atletico. But yeah, good shout there.
I had the wrong Madrid on for him, but
Oh,
still, it would have been perfect. I don't think I have an Atletico jersey, but that would have been amazing.
yeah.
Arias, shout out to him too. Kind of part of my jersey swap. I went to the Reds game on Friday, and Arias was actually at the game on Friday as well. So what's that?
Said I was also at the game.
That's true. We both were at the game. So yeah, I mean, awesome to see some of our guys like supporting the hometown teams too. So I love to see that. He was wearing a City Connect jersey. It was pretty crisp.
Always cool.
Yeah. So kind of looking forward to this coming week. A few of our guys are actually, being called up for the international break. So again, for those who aren't necessarily familiar, there's a couple games going on for the national teams. In the middle of the season, this happens from time to time. We had one earlier on in June, I believe. Now these guys are playing in World Cup qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So we had, Arias going with Colombia, as we mentioned, Junior Moreno playing with Venezuela. And just today was announced, Sam, let's hear it. Who was announced?
Boop. There it
is. So with the Gabon national team. So we had 3 guys that have been called up. Awesome to see, them representing their countries and to, frankly, represent this team too at the international level, which is really cool to see. I just saw a photo at our, break here. James Rodriguez was posting a photo with Arias, which is a Colombian legend. And I think he might be a free agent as well. Can you imagine?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be electric. If those, for those who aren't familiar, in the 2018 World Cup, 2014 World Cup,
2014.
James Rodriguez for Colombia had this goal from 25 out off the volley, upper 90. I think it was the goal of the tournament. I think one touched it up to himself and hit it in. So he played for, I think, Real Madrid. He's played some huge teams. He played for Everton. Would be honestly just such a cool addition to the team. And as a free agent, I don't think like if we're outside of the window, we can sign him whenever too. So we're going to start that trend now, Sam. James Rodriguez to FC Cincinnati. What an addition.
That. Yeah.
But looking forward, like I said, to the international games this week. We also have a league game coming up on the 16th. We'll just kind of very briefly touch on the fact that, Lucho is going to be out for that game. As Sam had mentioned, he accumulated too many yellow cards. So we're on the road against Philly, top 3 or 4 team in the whole league now, actually. So again, next episode, we'll kind of touch on that a little bit more. But, where it stands now, kind of give us the rundown of the standings and where we're at.
Yeah. So still 10 points clear, like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. So, no worry or anything. We just need to continue to do what we're doing right now, stay in form, and we'll ride out the ship to the Supporter Shield, which is nice. But, yeah, playing a team like Philly, we'll touch on it more next week, but, I'm interested to see, especially on that game with Lucho being out, do we go false 9 with no strikers, or do we have someone just take his spot in the midfield? I look forward to kind of talking more about that. But yeah, as far as the state in the East goes, it's strong. The West, I think, is St. Louis still on top in the West?
It was still the top, man. It's the Wild West for sure, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now we have a 10-point lead, on Supporters Shield. So best team in MLS in terms of amount of points. I believe New England has 1 game in hand, meaning that they have one more game to possibly play. Big kind of rumor coming out of New England today is that their head coach, Bruce Arena, might be calling it, a career, actually, probably going to retire. But he, I think, had been stepping down for some comments that he had made and then hadn't fully come back. So it will be interesting how that affects their run towards the end of the season. Another kind of MLS note on this today, I just saw Maxi Morales for NYCFC just tore his ACL as well. So some of the teams in the East are, losing like a coach, losing some key players.
Rapids fired their coach as well.
Rapids, yeah, on the West Coast too. So a lot of movement going on in the MLS, but as Sam mentioned, we're still riding high. I wanted to briefly touch on, like I had kind of mentioned in a little bit of a shout out, but for Roman Celentano was announced this past week that he's been extended to 2027.
It was not a third kit.
Sam and I were really
Dang
hoping
it.
that it would be a black kit. I mean, how incredible, like we had in our, nostalgia episode, would it be to have an MLS black kit, especially for the playoffs? That would have been
Yeah.
incredible. Just got announced, that hey, you're going to the playoffs. Next day, they come out with a sneak peek video of him with a Kroger bag, classic Roman, by the way. And you see like the shade of a black jersey on the shoulder. And we're just so pumped about it. But no, it was just his goalkeeper jersey.
Yeah. 2027.
2027. I mean, I'll take it, man. The dude's been incredible. He's started 54 games in a row in the MLS, which I think is honestly got to be close to being a record. I think, goalkeepers play continuously for a lot of games. I was unable to find a stat on, the record for that in terms of amount of starts in a row, but definitely for our team, it's been a record.
I would say it's probably a record to start a career, to be honest with you, like MLS
start a career. That's true.
Yeah, to start a career there's got to be a stat out there, right? But yeah, so much talent, so much potential. 22 years old, turns 23 actually here, like before we play Philly, I think the day before.
Happy early birthday, Roman.
Yeah, early birthday.
Hope he gets a Lululemon bag instead of a Kroger bag.
But he has so much potential, not only for FC, but also like possible U.S. men's national team, possible Europe. Like, I mean, I know we have him locked down, till 2027, but still, like, it's hard for teams not to want a goalkeeper like that, especially that young with that much potential. But most clean sheets, most minutes, saves, every goalkeeper stat you can imagine he's got for FCC at 22. And to his point, I thought this was really cool as well. So when they interviewed him right after his extension and everything, he had said that he's kind of ticked off all his goals that he had to, be an MLS goalkeeper. He had 10 clean sheets that he just got, checked off. But after he broke all of them, he said, our focus is solely on trophies now. That's what he said. And I love that. I love it.
I mean, that's your leader. I mean, like a lot of times your goalkeepers become your captains over time too.
Oh yeah.
And I could just envision him over several years just developing into more of a leadership role, and how he's learned from playing with all these experienced guys, some experienced goalkeepers, on our roster and everything too. But awesome for Roman. Very cool, and very excited to see, where his career goes. Because honestly, next year wasn't a given, in terms
we had talked about it. Yeah.
We for sure had said, like, we don't know if, Vasquez is going to be here. Barrial is going to be here. Roman. But now, we got Roman locked up. We got to lock Lucho up, Sam. We got to lock Lucho up. I think just tie him in a room or something and force him to stay.
Lock him in, build a statue and put him in the statue.
Yes, like exactly.
Yes. And then just
can only come out for the games.
Trainings and game days.
Game days. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, we're pretty excited to hopefully see an extension coming out for him, hopefully soon. Sam, any final thoughts on this episode here?
No, I mean, as much of a week as it was, win and a loss, loss didn't hurt me too much. It wasn't an impactful loss because, like I had said, we're still 10 points clear. Nothing changed on that. So that's kind of my takeaway from the week, and we'll go into having kind of this week off, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not exactly what happened the last time we had a whole week off. Yeah. Hopefully come out with some energy.
5 games, 14 days after a month break. It's a quick stint to, put in solid results, emotional games and stuff like that. But we've kind of weathered it, and I'm ready to keep pushing. Let's keep at it, and I hope that we can keep going. So at least for this next week, they got a lot of trainings ahead of them, maybe a little bit of recovery, hopefully some fun too. I wish, going back to my days of playing, these are the kind of weeks where you'd have a little bit of a break to do some different things, some team bonding and chemistry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With some of the guys on international break, maybe some young guys get to come in and train with the team too. Some two guys, fill in. So who's the next Brett Halsey? That'll be the interesting thing to see. I was looking today. One final point I wanted to kind of make was Malik Pinto has the second most sub appearances of anyone in the MLS. So again, we're kind of integrating some youth players in different positions. Roman's 22. Malik is pretty young. Halsey's 22 or 23. Angulo's young as well. So we have some talent that we're kind of bringing through. And I think it's a little bit underrated compared to Philly and some of the other teams, but nonetheless, it's impressive and I'm excited to see what we can do.
Yeah. Trying to build that academy out so that way, like you said, maybe we don't have to, stretch the budget too much. We can look inwards.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So I think we'll call this an episode here, but thanks everyone for tuning in. Like I said, last episode, tune in to Spotify, to YouTube. We have, our TikToks going. We got our reels on Instagram. We might have a big, exciting interview coming up here soon. So please stay tuned for that. And thanks again for tuning in tonight. Thanks.